I need your creative input. I have spent the better part of the last 3 years developing a portable miniature microwave oven. Unfortunately, legal just informed me that the name we settled on for our bite-sized microwave, the Bite Nuker, is highly offensive to those who speak either French or Dutch. A Franco-Dutchman would pronounce it Bet Nuker.
Hey, that's awful.
I'm sorry, Miss LaRoche Vanderhoot. Legal rejected all of our ideas. Every one of the names we came up with was offensive in some language, including English, Frank.
They knew what a hot Richard was?
TBTL.
What I'm about to propose to you is both highly lucrative and highly dangerous. That doesn't seem like your particular brand of vodka. Help yourself to as much food as you like and have a safe journey, no hard feelings. Otherwise, come with me.
Boys can be funny.
I don't know. I've never found a boy funny.
Well, I think boys can be funny, okay? I just think maybe they haven't had the opportunity to be funny for as long as girls have.
Do you ever kind of look at each other and go, aren't we a couple of dapper Dans?
Well, that should take care of those two evil geniuses for a while. I hope that they've learned their lessons that computers are built by people, for people, to help people, not to control us.
This is perfect for radio.
All right. Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone, to a Wednesday edition of TVTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
It's a waste of time to do that.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I'm a professional. Look it up in the book.
Coming to you once again from Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, Ma, Pa, it's just beautiful.
I got to tell you, I love this place. Who knew? Davenport, Iowa. Just absolutely adorable. Right here along the mighty Mississippi River. Great little restaurants and music venues and things down here in Davenport. Everybody's moving to Davenport. I don't know if that's happening, but I'm considering it. If not for this one kind of, I don't know what, I'm sure the locals know what this bug is called. It's a kind of a moth-like thing, and oh man, there are so many of them. They were attacking me in the middle of the night last night. I was jogging out on the Mississippi today. I probably inhaled, 30 to 40 of them. It's the only thing I can see about Davenport, Iowa that needs a little improving. The iced coffee is great, which I'm having right now. You know I'm a nice coffee guy now. It
tastes like soot and hot water. I'm hooked.
It's my whole personality is liking Davenport, Iowa, and also liking iced coffee, and liking the fact that we've arrived at episode 4,486 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
I went out to Walcott, Iowa yesterday and visited the world's largest truck stop.
Trucktober!
And it was large. It was as advertised. It's very big truck stop. I can give you a full report on that if you care to listen. Also, we need to get some updates from my friend Andrew Walsh about his run-ins with AI and also his finger, what's going on with that. Speaking of the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. On this side of the Mississippi, where I am, on this side, he's also known sometimes as
the Miami Meat Tent.
And he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I have gotten a lot of emails and text messages from concerned listeners who have a lot of advice on the splinter that wedged itself up under my fingernail on Sunday. Yeah. Confused as to why we gave no updates yesterday. I'm happy to update that story. I'm happy to update it. But first,
because I was like one of the listeners on the day after we recorded the Monday episode. And full disclosure, because of my wacky schedule, we doubled up on recordings on Monday and Tuesday. So that's why we did not get the benefit of 24 hours in order to find out about your finger. But I couldn't wait and was texting you Monday afternoon like, how's the finger man?
The finger man, yes. And finger man...
Comma. I'm sorry, that needed a comma. How's the finger? Comma, man,
You know, it didn't have a comma in there, and I think that I answered your question, because I thought you were asking how Fingerman was. And that's why I said, all great, no problem. Hasn't had a drink in weeks.
Yeah, no, definitely. He played with Spoon Man sometimes, right? Finger Man?
I believe so. Yeah, he was in the Colgate Comedy Hour. Hey, listen, before I give an update on my finger, and this is what we do. It's called Sweeping the Quarter Hour. I really do want to tell you a story about something that happened to me late last night that I found fascinating. I'm looking at the clock right now. It's 10:09 my time. I want to get this story to you fully, completely, by, let's say, 10:10. No, that's only 1 minute. 10:15. That gives me basically 5 minutes to tell the story. Late last night, I'm taking care of business behind my computer. I'm blasting away emails, as my dad might say. I got emails in there that are reminding me of things that I need to get done. I knew we had a little bit of a tight schedule today when we dialed up, so I wanted to make sure I was all locked in and ready for this Wednesday morning recording. While I'm sitting there feeling productive behind my computer around midnight last night, I'm paying this bill, I'm taking care of this, I'm taking care of that, and I see I still have this note here that says, either cancel or renew your satellite radio subscription.
Oh, sure.
Now, you will remember, I think, because I brought it up a lot, that I had some sort of deal where I was getting satellite radio for $5 a month, I want to say, maybe $5.99 a month, somewhere in that range. But it was only a one-year deal. I signed up for it, and that 1 year is coming to an end. And I got an email the other day that said, okay, your price increase is going to jump up to $25 a month now on, whatever day, unless you take some action. And I'm like, I'm not into that. Like, satellite radio is good at the $5 to $6 a month level. Beyond that, I'm not really probably getting the use out of it.
Because you're not a power user of the Howard Stern show the way I am, which is the main appeal.
I hate podcasting. It's just ruined my life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do enjoy it. I love having it as an alternative. There's sometimes I go through cycles where I'm listening to some of the music programming, but I don't have to get into the benefits and detriments of satellite radio. We are on a pitch clock here, Luke. So anyway, I was like, okay, yeah, I had my fun flirty year of satellite radio at a cheap price. I'm going to cancel it now. That's okay. And what I figure is, I'm going to cancel this now. Again, it's late at night behind my computer. They're going to call me. I know these people at Sirius. I know some of them personally at this point because they call me and they say, there must have been some mistake. You've canceled your subscription to the best radio service in the world. I'm like, I just can't do it. Sometimes you make up stories.
You get a human caller following up on
Yes,
this.
satellite radio really is invested in once they have you, even after a free trial, I would get a lot of phone calls from very nice people saying, hey, come on, we got this nice deal for you. So I figure I'm going to go ahead and kill this at $25 a month. They're going to follow up sometime in the next few days and offer me some better deal, and I will decide then whether or not to take that deal. And so I'm on their website. It's not too bad. You know how some websites or some services really sort of hide the functionality of how to quit their service? Like,
oh, yes.
Literally, I don't know how to quit you.
Yeah, the absolute most frustrating thing.
If I recall, it was relatively easy to find. It said, you can upgrade here, blah, 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 or cancel service. And I found that relatively quickly. I clicked the little box, and it says, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yes. I hit go, and then it said, okay, in order to do this, we need to hook you up first with a virtual assistant. And I'm like, what
hell no.
are you doing to me? This is basically like when you go to a website and you say, yes, I want some help with something, and they start by having you chat with AI before you get to an actual customer service.
Dude, American
person.
Airlines was doing that to me so hard yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was they just wouldn't take human for an answer. I was in the chat
Are you typing
function.
that and you're typing human?
All caps.
Yeah.
Human.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, which one of these three problems best describes your issue? And then it'd be doing other. Yes. And then it'd go, okay, which one of these three? And it's the same list of possible. Then I'm hitting other, and then I'm typing human, all caps, in between hitting other.
Your wife's new name is Targus, right? Like that
100%.
joke. Like that joke is 15 years old, but it's just as relevant today, if not more so than ever.
Prescient.
And so again, and in this case, it's not even pretending, and I appreciate this. It's not like, hey, we're going to hook you up with Janet, our assistant. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is just pure AI, and I know
I'm
that.
Kix. What can I help you with?
Like,
how do you spell that?
I know,
K-I-X? What?
I know exactly what's going on here, but I'm just like, they're just going to make it a little bit more difficult. Like, I should be able to check a box, confirm it, and then say goodbye. They shouldn't force me to have a little window pop up in the bottom right corner of my screen that's going to make me talk to a robot. Like, that just shouldn't happen. So the robot pops up and says, how can I help you? As if it doesn't know why it's being summoned, right? As if it doesn't know
That's a great point.
What rubbed that genie bottle. So how can I help you? And so I just write end service or whatever. And then it says, just to confirm, and it immediately spits out all of my information, right? For this account that ends in these 4 numbers or whatever, that is going to renew at $25 a month next month, this is what you want to cancel. Yes. And then, Luke, the robot says, we have a deal where we could knock this down, I believe, to $18 a month. So 25 down to 18. I'm like, no, thanks. Are you interested in this deal? No, thanks. What about one that would be, I think it was $12 a month? And I'm like, no, I don't want this anymore. Like, please end this. I will deal with this down the road. So I'm like, no. And then it offers me one last offer. It says, what about $6.06 a month? And I wrote, no, just end this. And and then it moves on. And then all of a sudden I realize what I'm doing. I'm like, wait, yeah, no, $6 is great.
Yeah.
Like, what am I?
Sounds pretty
what
good.
am I doing? I'm like annoyed by the robot who like just keeps on like kind of, like saying, what about this? What about this? But here's my point with all of this. So I was prepared for a human being to call me and offer me some deals that I didn't think they were going to go as low as $6 again. But I was prepared for them to have some sort of negotiation with me. But it was amazing to see it all pre-programmed in. Like they know what the beats are. They're like, what about $18? What about $12? What about $6.06? They were all very specific, even with the cents, And so I'm like, every time you're talking to a human being, they're just reading off a script. Like, we know all of this anyway, and we know how much flexibility that they have, which is probably none. There are various tiers, and they're just going to flow chart you if they say no to this, offer this, whatever. But there was something about just seeing it laid so bare, and it was clear that 606 was as low as they would go, because when I said no to that, I think they said something like, okay, we're going to cancel this. Are you sure you don't want the latest offer? And I literally just typed in, I'll take the 606. They're like, great. Boom. Just like that. I'm renewed. Like, didn't have to enter in any more information.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if this story really pays off, because I guess what I saw was what we all know is going on. But it's just amazing to see, like, they don't even need humans anymore. You just keep saying no until they go down to their lowest offer. And for people who are interested in satellite radio, the lowest offer right now is $6.06. Get on that.
And I mean, I hear what you're saying, though, is that the reason that certain people dread going to like buy a car or do these other things where there's this negotiation is because you kind of don't know where you stand. And then there's a human element. And then sometimes you feel kind of rude. The person's like, this is the lowest I can go. And then you're like, well, how about half of that? But this is just the pure economic model of supply, demand, appetite, where like this gets rid of any of the kind of human component of this that can be stressful. It's just purely like, what's the number?
Yeah, but it did negotiate with me. It wanted to see if I could. I mean, imagine if I had accepted the $18, like what, like some people would have just said yes to that. Oh, well, that saves me $6 a month over the 25 or whatever it is. I'm not doing the math.
It also raises the question, why did it stop at $6? Because if it gets $4 if 10,000 people give them $4 a month, then that's $40,000 a month that they didn't have otherwise. Like, I wonder why 6 is like, they're like, even I am a bot, but even I have my dignity.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a good question, but I guess that would get into like kind of devaluing your service. You could sort of say that about I guess not almost any service, because they're putting it out there. They're producing it all anyway. They're putting it out there. They just need any money to fund
it.
Right,
that's what I'm saying. $6 actually honestly seems like they've debased themselves pretty heavily. And listen, you've now helped me realize that I need to.
You should get on
I need to go ahead and play that most dangerous game, or maybe not so dangerous game with them, because I am fully a subscriber. I don't even know what I'm paying a month.
Yeah, I'll bet you the fact that you don't know means you're paying at least $25. I'm sure.
I'm probably paying the going rate because again, I'm a Howard Stern show listener on a fairly sort of dedicated basis, although it does seem to be piling up now. I'm almost like a TBTL listener who's going, how do I keep up with all these episodes? But that being said, I do subscribe to it, and I haven't gone in there and pretend quit in a while.
Yeah.
So I might need to do that and see if I can get them down to that $6.06. Okay. Let's talk about your fingers, sir. So the last that I heard on this, again, it was Monday afternoon. What I noticed, you sent me a photo. By the way, the photo was not gross. You said like something to the effect of, I said, how's the finger? You go, not great. Are you okay with me sending a photo? I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I don't know, something that looked like a butterfly shrimp at Outback Steakhouse or something. Just a normal finger. But what I could tell is that it looked like you had tried to trim down the corner of your fingernail to close the distance between the edge of your fingernail and where this splinter was lodged or is lodged under way deeper down under your fingernail.
Yeah, and it is it's lodged right in the corner of my fingernail. So this is my left index finger, and this is the left-hand side of my fingernail. And yeah, I know that photo wasn't gross, but you never know where you're going to catch somebody. And like, here's a super close-up photo of a splinter under a fingernail.
I'm on a flight, but somebody behind me is like, "What is this guy's kink?
What is this guy into?" And then
fingernail shots.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
Weirdo.
I did start sending you some Toesies photos too, though, but just because I thought I'd been.
And
taking
weirdly,
care of
you
them.
didn't ask me in advance. Those you just fired away.
No, once you gave me permission on the first one, I sort of
enthusiastic
felt like
consent, as Paul F. Tompkins calls it.
Exactly. So I don't know. I've been doing some Googling. Do you know what gangrene is?
I sure do. Gangrene. I'm going to put gangrene up there with hot lava and quicksand.
Yeah.
As a thing that loomed very large in my childhood brain that I thought was going to be more part of my life than it was. Because you read a lot of books when you're a kid about shipwrecks and also just various. I remember that I've talked about this book before, but there was a book called Hatchet that we read in like 7th or 8th grade about a kid who is in a plane crash and has to survive. And I don't think he technically has gangrene, but he has an infection that he has to go in and kind of do some surgery on. Anyway, gangrene was something I kind of weirdly knew, or at least I read about a lot as a kid.
Yeah. Well, whatever's going on with my finger is the same thing that Henry VIII had going on with his leg in his after getting wounded, I believe, in a joust. I was reading all those books about that era of English history. I can't even remember now. I'm blanking on all those books that I read. Some were pretty heavily. God, I can't remember the names of the books, let alone the order of his wives. But man, the descriptions of this wound that he had suffered, that then just he carries around as this infected. I mean, I'm not even going to say the words that they used to describe this stinky, stinky wound that his people had to every night try to clean and cut away stuff. Ugh, it was so gross. Anyway, no, the truth of the matter is, situation has stabilized, which I know probably a lot of listeners don't want to hear. My
right.
dude,
what they hear is Andrew is not going to push this issue further.
I mean, it's weird because here's the deal. I don't want this thing under my fingernail. And when I talked to you on Monday, a quick reminder, I got this totally randomly, reaching into a closet. Apparently the corner of my door frame had a little splinter waiting for me, or kind of a biggish splinter, kind of a wide splinter, I'd say. And I was just putting something in a bag and just like 1 in a million shot, got this splinter up my fingernail. And that was Sunday afternoon. By the time I talked to you Monday mid-morning, it was starting to do that thing where I was getting a little bit infected, like in a way that I'm familiar with. Like if you ever have sort of I don't know if you cut your fingernail back too far and then it grows in a little bit funny and you kind of get that inflammation along the side of your finger. Well, that's exactly where this splinter is. And so when I talked to you on Monday, it was, swelling a tiny bit. It was a little red. It was irritated. It was sensitive. And I told you I couldn't wait to take a long shower. And then I was really going to go to town with a needle and some tweezers. And I was just ready to do it. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I'm going to get through this somehow. Cut back the fingernail as much as possible. Try to get to it. So I did that and took a really, really long shower. Softened everything up. In the shower, I'm starting to do some prep work on it, kind of pulling the skin back. The infection kind of takes care of itself, if you know what I'm talking about. Sort of pops out there, but it's getting all nice and clean or whatever. And then I get to work on it in the bathroom, and I just can't reach the son of a gun, Luke. I just can't get. I mean, Genevieve keeps saying you just hand me your hand and I will get this thing for you. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I keep saying, you're not a nurse. And she keeps saying, and then it gets into some real kind of bedroom stuff. But, so.
I love that that's your role play is, can you dress up as a not nurse?
Can you dress up like a.
You dress up like a person who speech writes for the president of the University of Washington.
Too real. Can you dress up like a physician's assistant? Anyway, so but I'm like,
can
no,
you dress up like a person who can successfully draw my blood at the LabCorp at Swedish Hospital in Ballard?
Sexy phlebotomist. Okay.
Who is competent.
A competent phlebotomist. What's better than a sexy phlebotomist? A competent phlebotomist. Oh, is that a baby needle that you're using? Thank you. nurse. So
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
All I'm saying is I refuse to let Genevieve go to work on this. She's like, I'll just cut your fingernail away. I'm like, that is not going to happen, sweetie. I can't. Are you kidding me? So I basically tried to dig up there using various instruments. I could not get to it, but I did sort of release the pressure from the minor infection that was starting. And I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. It's going to get infected again. You know, I'll probably wake up the next day and it'll be slightly inflamed again. And I'm getting emails and text messages and voicemails from people who are like on all different sides of this, like, but all saying the same thing. Go get thee to a doctor. People are telling stories of their splinters under fingernails that got majorly infected and inflamed, and holes being drilled into fingernails, and people talking about their recuperation process, et cetera, et cetera. I also got some pretty detailed notes from some doctors and other people who work in the medical profession saying, like, you really need to get this taken care of. Some really compelling arguments from an urgent care doctor up north in Shoreline. And so by the end of Monday evening, I'm like, I'm going to have to take care of this. I know this now. I'm going to have to go to urgent care at some point. But the thing is, Luke, that was Monday. I woke up on Tuesday, and it was mostly fine. Like, it wasn't infected at all anymore. If anything, I mean, it's the tiniest bit tender, but I would barely notice it. Last night I was playing darts thinking, boy, this finger doesn't even barely hurt anymore. I looked down on it and I realized I was looking down at the wrong finger. Like, I didn't even remember which finger it was. That's how much pain I'm not in, if I can speak in negatives. And so here it is, Wednesday. I was looking at it in the shower. I'm almost thinking it might be, maybe it's moving a little bit. It might be moving more. I don't know for sure. I did get a great suggestion from someone. At least it sounds like a great suggestion. I don't know if it's going to work or not. But somebody texted and said Epsom salt. This is something I've heard of before, but I've never used. They say you soak that thing for between 30 minutes and literally maybe 2 hours. Depends on what's in there and how wedged it is. It has a miraculous tendency to pull things out from your body. I don't know how that works, but I'm going to the store later today to try that. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds like the kind of thing that Epsom salt would be good for. But I also don't understand what the properties of Epsom salt is. But I know that that's definitely something that people are often saying. Like, when you've tried everything else, get in a bath of Epsom salt, and it'll draw it out of you, whatever it is. So
yeah,
I also think it'd be kind of a fun thing if our whole deal as a show. People often ask me when I bring up the podcast, what's the show about, or what sets the show apart when there are just so many podcasts out there. And it could be the show where both guys have foreign objects stuck in some part of their hand for many years.
Yeah, because you have that, what is yours?
Thorn thing, which, by the way, causes me no discomfort.
Yeah.
It's just there. And if this thing, if your body eventually kind of finds a stasis with this, I know this is not what the listeners are advocating for. By the way, I couldn't be less shocked to hear, Andrew, that their advice wasn't, just play it by ear.
Let it ride.
Yeah, I can't. I'm so unshocked to hear that our listeners did not encourage you to let it ride, but instead gave you the most gangrenous possible outcome.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I'm portraying, I mean, so some listeners who had this happen to them and they were concerned about it, but I will say fair. It was very compelling to hear from so many medical professionals. Like, I'm thinking of at least like 4 different emails or notes that I've received. And when they're like, hey, listen, like, just come, like, honestly, this happens all the time. This is why it's medically important. Like, this
right.
isn't,
And
like,
they were telling you not to be embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just sort of seemed like, and that's what the internet says too. But I got to say, and so yesterday, I finally started that big project of trying to whip our, like, kind of garden into shape.
Yeah.
It was like getting overgrown. I was getting the bad feeling when I'd come home, walk through our cute little gate and look over and see these weeds that had just become tall grass growing up between stones. So yesterday I spent a lot of time, and in fact, I am in a rough shape today. What's bothering me more is this blister right in the, like in the, what do you call it, the crook of your thumb, like where your thumb meets your hand from like raking and using shovels and stuff. The blister is affecting me more today, but you should have seen me. I was so scared about reinfecting the splinter that it didn't hurt, but like I had Band-Aids on it, and then I had those Band-Aids wrapped up in a whole bunch of masking tape, and then I had a Band-Aid on the corner of my thumb here.
Love that move.
And then I'm like, and so my half of my hand is sort of wrapped up in this masking tape that is now getting like just full of dirt and like trying to come off, and I have to keep on wrapping it up. Sort of. At one point, Genevieve looked at me like it was again the opposite of hello phlebotomist. She was like, that is the most disgusting thing going on your hand. But I was like, but it's kept everything very clean, and even after a very hard hard day of like literally digging in the dirt to get weeds and stuff out, my finger still seems pretty good today.
I love the move of using masking tape, a piece of it, or painter's tape or anything like that, even duct tape maybe, as a way of holding some kind of a thing onto a part of your body or hand that's giving you trouble. That feels really macho to me. It's not a move that I do often or that I can even pull off. But like my brother-in-law, Jason, he's like a woodworker, and he's like, imagine a sexier Matthew McConaughey. Okay, that's what this guy's all about. He's from Mississippi. He's got like, big, strong working hands that he uses to do woodwork and all these other kinds of things. And like, he's the kind of guy that you'll see, he'll just have like a piece of like duct tape or masking tape just wrapped around some part of his finger that's just like holding the entire finger together.
Yeah.
But it's because he was just out in his shop doing something, and he doesn't have like Band-Aids out there. Meanwhile, I'd have like 3 SpongeBob Band-Aids, like 1 on the thing and then 2 kind of holding it on or something. He's just like, I don't know. I just cauterized it out there. I just wrapped it up with this, whatever. I had some leftover flashing from when I was installing part of the roof, and I just kind of bent that around the thumb, and that's holding it all in there.
Of course, he could just be saying that. He could just be putting tape on his body and then impressing you.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's absolutely working. I mean, you could hear the swoon in my voice.
I know, I do.
I talk about my brother-in-law. Exactly.
I love it.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
All right, let's thank some dazzling donors. These folks are donating dazzling amount of dough. They are making this podcast possible. This is 100% listener-supported podcasting. Coming to you today from Davenport, Iowa, and it's thanks to Tiffany Heiner. Heiner pronounced, this is Tiffany's, description. Heiner, like Heine.
See.
So there you go.
Now, I wouldn't usually allow that kind of language on the show, but it's a dazzling donor message. I am powerless here.
Yeah,
I can't
it's Tiffany's dime.
Yep.
It's Tiffany's Heine. So here we are. Tiffany's in Campbell, California. Ahoy, hoy, y'all. In 2023, a therapist said to me, sometimes you have to make your world small for a while in order to be able to make it large again later. And I have to say, this year was a much smaller year than last. I celebrated a full year without booze by focusing on what was in front of me and relying on an incredible support system. Shout out to Amanda Moon in Walnut Creek, the Tens, and Recovery Dharma. Well, congratulations, Tiffany. I'm really glad to hear that you're on that journey and that it's working for you. With daily meditation and therapy, I feel more like myself than I remember ever being. I have this, we can just call it what it is, possibly regrettable tattoo on my arm, Andrew, it's the Joy bottle of detergent. And it's
wait, you're just saying that to be somewhat humble, right? You don't really, do you regret?
No, I don't regret. I actually like the tattoo, but what I mean is I tend to get a lot of tattoos that are supposed to help me remember something that I could just probably try to remember. I don't know. I get into this kind of, I don't want to say performative tattooing, but I get into this kind of like attempt at meaningfulness through a tattoo that may or may not hold up over the lifetime of the tattoo. The actual tattoo of the Joy bottle, the detergent bottle, I actually kind of like still as like a visual.
I like the look of it.
But it's kind of a little bit, it's related to what Tiffany's talking about here, about sometimes you've got to make your world small for a while in order to make it large again. The idea of this joy tattoo is to hold on to your joy. That is something that I found out about from one of those sessions where that radio advisor, that radio coach, Bill McMahon, who came in, where we get the term power out from, where we get the term mad manning, where we get so much
detail.
Dazzling detail, so many things that we mercilessly roasted and now use without any irony. Do you remember the other story he did? He showed like a painting. And the painting was a painting of some women, it looked like maybe in Africa, and they were standing on these rolling hills. And some of the hills were very sort of yellow and dead and sort of fallow. And then some of the hills in the background were very green. And he was talking to somebody who had painted the painting, and they said, this is about your joy is like a flame. And sometimes it's very small and you have to hold on to it and protect it. And sometimes you're in a phase of life where you can let it out and it gets huge and big. And the idea that like, just think about your joy as this fire, this flame that can be very big sometimes, and sometimes it's windy out, and you've got to kind of just keep it pretty small and kind of keep it contained to keep it going. Sounds a little bit like what Tiffany is talking about with saying, her world got a little smaller so that it can then get bigger. It's hard to find words of comfort in the current climate. I'm reading from Tiffany's line again. I'm not quoting Bill McMahon anymore. A normal person can become overwhelmed multiple times a day just with the breaking news of it all. Boy, this has been an extra bad week. Tell you what, I'm on wait this week, and I'm like, what are we even going to... Like, if we're talking about the news, we got to talk about the invasion of the state of California by the federal government. That's the news. But what am I going to make a joke about it?
Yeah.
It's like, what do we? I don't even know what we're going to do. Like, and then I have to read the news a little bit, so I have so I don't fully embarrass myself when they're asking me news questions. But I don't. I mean, I'm not saying anything novel here, but it is just unbelievably traumatizing, honestly, to see what's happening in this country and to read it. So,
well, it's nice. I know that a lot of progressives have issues with Gavin Newsom lately regarding some of the things that he's said, advocated for, and enacted. Having said that, reading some highlights of his speech last night was invigorating. Did you?
I know. I do appreciate that he's yes, and with the caveat offered of all the things that he's done that progressives don't agree with, appreciate about him. The fact that he is incredibly direct about what's going on to his state and about what Trump is doing, that is kind of refreshing. And that's not me, endorsing him for office or anything. But yeah. Anyway, so Tiffany was saying, please remember that it's okay to make your world small sometimes. Turn off the notifications, unsubscribe from the updates, stare out the window, even if just for a few hours. The term self-care is overused, but it is vital. Seriously, friendos, what you do is so important. I know I could not have made it here without you. Wow, Tiffany, well, that's a really, really kind thing for you to say about our little show and our little project here. And I can say to you with 100% confidence that we could not have made it here without you. So congratulations on your personal growth in your life, and thank you so much for making TBTL possible. Maestro?
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
Well, if it isn't Kate Mueller, like the Mueller report, no relation.
Spelled differently. You have cover there. No, you don't have. Yeah. The Mueller report had an extra.
The funny part is, I feel like the Mueller report should have been the Mueller report.
I know. I haven't heard that term in so long. I started to get in my head about that. It's funny that you say that because I started to really lose even more confidence in what I was saying as I was saying it.
I know. I was exactly the same journey. I was like, it is the Mueller report, right?
Yeah.
I was going too far back in the old memory banks.
Yeah.
Or is it Kate Mueller, like the Mueller report? No relation.
Kate Mueller, like the Mueller report.
Mueller. Anybody? Mueller. Kate is in Seattle, Washington. Hi, business boys. As in previous years, I'd like to use my dazzling donor message for some shameless self-promotion. My husband and I, we know this, Kate. My husband and I own the best small gym in Seattle, Green Lake Strength and Conditioning.
Hell yeah.
Wasn't there one year where they were mentioning this and I was sending people to the wrong gym in the area?
Oh, is that true? I don't think so.
I feel like I think I either misstated the name or I was remembering a gym nearby or something. It's extremely gratifying to see that Kate and her husband are still supporting the show, even though I think I might have given them kind of a bum read one of these past years.
Yeah, no, it's right there in the center of the Green Lake area, right by the lake there. I pass
mere
it all
steps
the
from
time.
Little Red Hen.
Exactly. And that bike shop and everything. It's a wonderful place. And before I even let Kate go ahead and continue to kind of drum up support for her business, I want to say a really great community business as well. This is me. This is not me reading from Kate's message, but Kate has reached out to me about ways that she and her business can work with the pop-up kitchen I work with. I know that they do a lot of other stuff.
That's also kind of over there.
Yeah, it's in that area, and I know that they do other things for the community as well, and they're just great people.
Yeah. Kate says, okay, telling you a little bit more about Seattle, the Green Lake Strength and Conditioning. We would love it for any tens to check us out. We welcome and celebrate all bodies, all people, and all abilities. And we have coaches who can meet everyone where they are fitness-wise. I'm personally about the furthest thing from a gym bro, as you could imagine. And I want everyone to experience the community acceptance and fun that I have found at our gym. Tens, please check us out. It's greenlakestrength.com. greenlakestrength.com. Special shout out to Carl and Brian, who joined our gym after hearing last year's dazzling dose. See, it's working.
Love this.
It's working.
That's right. So go hang out with Carl and Brian and Kate.
Absolutely. And I love to hear about the inclusion. I mean, listen, I think most of us anyway, unless you're some kind of a T12. Wait, what's the T1? Which one is the Terminator?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
T111.
Yeah, I thought you were doing. I thought you were talking about one of your exercise things because they always have letters and numbers involved, right? Like I saw.
They
a lot
do.
of things
P90. Unless you're some kind of P90X.
That's what I thought you were talking.
I was trying to say, unless you're like either like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Terminator, or even the other guy that runs after him. That's real kind of scary. Unless you're like that kind of a person, I think we can all relate to the idea of the intimidation of maybe setting out on a new course of action with like exercise, particularly around strength and conditioning. I mean, that's something that does not come natural to me at all. I am not a person who enjoys the experience of weightlifting and things like that. And then you're going to go to a gym and there is that whole, depending on the gym, there's that whole culture around the equipment and who's using it and what the protocols are and what your body allows for, et cetera. So this idea that you could go to Green Lake Strength and Conditioning and just know that you're like, it's cool. Like whatever your scene is, it's going to be fine. And you've got these great people who happen to be 10s that are going to take care of you and refer you to the right coach just to kind of like make this something that doesn't have to be intimidating. I think that's a really cool idea.
Indeed.
Back to TBTL, Kate says, I've been a dedicated daily listener since Eli Sanders' 2008 Stranger piece. I honestly don't know what my daily life would be without TBTL. I love you, dummies. Well, we love you, Kate. And also, man, I had a thought the other day, which is I need to see where Pulitzer Prize winner Eli Sanders is these days and send him a note saying, bro, thank you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because, boy, that article really helped us out. I mean, not just in bringing Kate to the show, but so many people in the Seattle area. If you ask, well, how'd you hear about the show? They'll say, I read this article on The Stranger, and it was such a, I mean, there's a reason Eli has a Pulitzer Prize, but it's like just such a nice article. I mean, it does involve me talking about having a bathroom explosion in my pants at the Kingdom as a child, but that article was really a help to the show. So Eli Sanders, wherever you are, thank you very much. And Kate Muller, wherever you are, and we know exactly where Kate is. That's Green Lake Strength and Conditioning or greenlakestrength.com. That's exactly where Kate is. So thanks to all of you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
I went to the world's largest truck stop yesterday. Andrew. I'm actually going back there today, right after this. And I have to say, it's called the Iowa 80, and it's out in Walcott, Iowa. And, it was really, I hate to say it, it was pretty cool. Like, it's pretty remarkable what they got going on at this place. There's a chiropractor there, there's a dentist. I got my back adjusted in the chiropractic office.
Are there any rides?
There's like an arcade for kids, but it's not. They don't have rides that I saw. They don't have rides like a roller coaster next to the thing. It's not really like a family fun center in that way. But they do have like an area for kids that has probably like some like a motorcycle that you put a quarter in and kind of does a little ride thingy or something. But I went to the dentist there. I went and talked to the pastor, and that was kind of. They have like a chaplain who's there and has this little room, and it was that was maybe for me just low key the most interesting part because, that's not a worldview that I really hold anymore. And these people, I was looking at all these religious tracts that they had set out, and it was like, oh, some of these were literally the kinds of religious tracts that my dad would go hand out on the Ave when I was a kid, which mortified me to no end.
You're not talking about the ones that were little like comics, were you? Those little tracts? Yeah. Oh, I used to love finding those in the city.
Those turn or burn, I should say.
Yeah.
Turn and burn is a much less compelling argument because, like, what? I'm still going to burn if I turn?
That sounds more like a Fast and the Furious move, to be honest with you. Turn and burn, a Fast and Furious movie, I believe.
They had a variety of they had this Bible that was called the Trucker's Bible, and it had a picture of a truck on it. It was just the New Testament, and they're free. And I said, what makes this the Trucker's Bible? He goes, well, there's a truck on the cover. I said, oh, okay. It's just the same Bible. It's the King James Bible, but it's got a semi-truck on the cover. It's a Trucker's Bible, obviously.
That's like the Kids in the Hall sketch. Like somebody's trying to buy a keyboard, and they're like, what's the difference between the XL50 and the XL100? And he said, well, it's 50.
Yeah, basically.
It's right there.
talking to the pastor was kind of interesting because, again, he was this very nice kind of older gentleman. He's there with his wife. He was very much like a lot of the people that I grew up around in the very, very evangelical movement. And it was clear that he's a Baptist church here in Iowa somewhere. So it's as far as the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the philosophy or the particular kind of approach to quote unquote Christianity. It's very similar to the one I grew up with, as opposed to like a Unitarian church or something. This isn't like just like a quiet place for meditation where you can come in, and happy Pride and like everyone all are welcome. All are welcome, I guess, but you know what I mean? It's like it was, I could just tell the energy in the room based on everything I was seeing was like, oh, this is the version of Christianity I grew up in. And instead of it being kind of off-putting, I was like, well, let me just flex a little bit. So we're doing the interview, and it's like, well, who comes in here? And he goes, well, people who are, feeling lonely or at the end of their rope or whatever, and they want to know about the Lord. And I go, is that when you break out John 3:16? And then he's like, huh? Like, I was like, yeah. Game, recognized game. And then after we did this interview, the producer was like, do you do a lot of stories about religion? I was like, no, I do 0 stories about religion. He goes, well, how did you know that stuff? I go, well, it was a lifetime of preparation.
I mean, listen, I'm not trying to steal your valor. I know that you can go deep and hard on this stuff, and that is not me talking sexually to you. I know. Sorry, I just couldn't think of another word. But John 3:16. I mean, that is the Sergeant Pepper of Bible verses, right? Like we can go.
No,
deeper
obviously,
than that,
but it is but here's the thing. It's, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. It is you're right. It is definitely maybe the most well-known Bible verse, but it's also the one that is always offered as if you're going to accept Jesus. If you were wondering how to accept Jesus, it's laid out in that
it's
particular
the gateway
verse.
It's the gateway verse.
Yeah. But so we did that, and then we went over. This was actually also surprisingly cool. I think something is happening to me, Andrew, as I age, which is I'm getting more into like automotive type museums and things. As part of this huge truck stop, they've got this trucking museum that's this enormous building that's just across the parking lot that's owned by the same family that owns the truck stop. And I got to take a tour of this place, and man, these like semi trucks and just trucks generally throughout the years, starting in the early 1900s all the way up until, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago or something. They're so cool. This is a weird comparison because, I'm obviously not a fan of the guy, but those memes of like Donald Trump in like a, I don't know, semi truck or something, or when he's like, for some stupid reason, they'll pull like a fire truck or a semi truck into the like White House parking lot, and then he's doing some kind of a whatever. He's always in there being like, like sitting in there. He looks like a 4-year-old kid, like excited that he's in like a truck. That was totally me yesterday in this trucking museum, sadly.
I love it. I love that. I mean, you are, my dude, you are going to be reading books about submarines in no time. I love this progress you're making into
the classification of Luke Burbank. And you know that when I read those books about submarines, what device will I be reading them off of?
Oh, your iPad for sure.
iPad, 100%. Then, if need be, taking photos of other things that I see with the iPad.
With the iPad,
that's where you read the Tom Clancy. That's how you take the photos, the whole thing. So, anyway, yeah, if you're in Walcott, Iowa, and you're passing through, I would recommend you at least take a look-see around the world's largest truck stop. Some really nice people that run that place. And yeah, so I'm gonna go back there today. Now this might be a little weird. We're basically trying to find a trucker who's going to let us film the inside of their truck, because the modern trucks are kind of marvels of technology, right? They've got a sleeper. Most of them have like a sleeper car. They're a whole little kind of apartment you drive. And I don't know if people are going to like let us do that. Like, I feel like, they might be like, well, it's kind of a mess in there, or I don't know, that's my private space. So my job is to, when I get done here and go back over there, my job is to wander around the parking lot of the world's largest truck stop, asking strangers if they'll allow me and a film crew into where they live, basically.
Yeah, I'll bet you, I mean, yeah, some people are going to be shy about that, but I'll bet you some people will be excited to have the opportunity to, and I'll bet you some of them, you find the person who probably keeps a very, very clean scene in there. and is excited to show it off.
Kind of
Now,
proud to show it off.
And I'm not trying to go negative here, but I do have a question. I'm almost wondering, as a favor to whatever PR people you are working with, because this is going to bring, CBS, this is going to bring a lot of attention to the world's largest truck stop. I'm on their website now, which is very well filled out, make some design decisions that probably wouldn't be our vibe, but I think really fits the vibe of what you're going for if you're world's largest truck stop. I don't have any major issues with this website, except when you scroll down, there's this huge area that looks like a chalkboard sort of, and it says, "Welcome to the Iowa 80 truck stop." This is a huge part of their kind of splash page or their front page of their website, and there's just a big, huge green space there. And it looks like you can interact with it in some way, but there doesn't seem to be any interacting going on. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this, but if a bunch of people are going to be going to this website, they need to kind of either maybe I should turn off my pop-up blocker. Maybe that's causing some issues, but there's something
is it
going
the YouTube? Is it the thing that I'm seeing? Does it say, "Welcome to the Iowa 80 truck stop," and then below that, are you seeing something green?
Let's see here. So you have "Welcome to the world's largest truck stop." And then you have the huge sign of it, right? The actual photo sign. You scroll down, you can see the gallery, you can see the Truckers Jamboree, you scroll down, and then what is this big, huge green space there? Serving
it's not green on mine. I think it's maybe ad blocking for you. It's the countdown to the Truckers Jamboree.
This is good to know. Okay, good. Then I've turned
Mark
off
your
my
calendars.
ad blocker. Let me try
2025 Walcott Truckers Jamboree, involving, Andrew, the Trucker Olympics, where they have these physical competitions of things that truckers have to do, and one of them I think is rolling up, those nylon kind of ratchet down straps that you might use on a flatbed truck.
Yeah.
That there's ratchet strap rolling as one of the competitions.
Oh man, that's kind of good. Those things. Now hold on a second though. What do you see underneath the counter? So I got 28 days, 13 hours, 6 minutes, and then you scroll down.
Then there's a chalkboard that says, "Welcome to the Iowa 80 truck stop," and then there's a big YouTube screen that I can click on.
YouTube screen,
and it would play.
Okay,
it would play me a YouTube video about the truck stop. I think that this is. Your system not talking to the Iowa 80 system.
Well, then I'm glad I took the show into a really good place. But I was kind of earnest.
Well,
when I
you
was
did because their reputation was cleared. There was a moment of reputational damage, which we then were able to clear. So I do think it's good.
There was a mini narrative arc there that I provided.
And that's what this show is. It's just a series of eensy-weensy mini narrative. Hey, speaking of mini narrative arcs, do you have maybe an email or a V-mail that you can fire our way before we get out of here, before I return to the world's largest truck stop?
Yeah, how do you feel about this?
Here I go once again with the email.
Feel really good about it.
Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man, it's not from a female.
More on this green screen, I'm saying. No, just joking. I got a voicemail here that that sort of tickled me yesterday. Kelly told a little story about having to run to urgent care herself. This just came in, I think, yesterday or the day before, because I was talking about my Splinter situation and people saying I should go to urgent care. And Kelly said, "Oh, I just had to do that the other day." So I guess minor trigger warning for squeamishness, because Kelly did injure herself, and she's going to talk about it here.
Hello, this is Kelly in Seattle. I was just listening to you talk about your finger, and I'm so sorry about the splinter and the location. That sounds terrible. But I just wanted to encourage you to go to urgent care. Yesterday, Sunday, I was making lunch, and I had waited too long, and I was hungry and not super focused, and I chopped most but not all of the tip of my thumb off. And after I spent about a half hour on the floor recovering, trying to not feel queasy and like I was going to pass out, and I called my mom for moral support, I drove myself to urgent care, where they soaked it in Novocaine for 3 or 4 minutes.
Soaked it in
and
Novocaine.
Then cleaned it and dried it, and then put some tape and some wound glue on it. And now I'm all wrapped up and good to go for a few days. And I cried while I was there because I felt bad about being a weenie about it. And he was like, "It's fine. That's why we're here. You shouldn't feel bad about it." And I was like, "Thank you." Anyway, incredibly sympathetic and empathetic to your plight. But yeah, you shouldn't feel bad about going, because let them deal with it. We're not meant to. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really sorry, and I hope you can get it out soon. Okay, bye.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. But it really does sound like what you're dealing with is more severe than my situation.
Yeah, mini trigger warning. Hi, I cut my thumb off.
Yeah, sorry. Should I go back, give a better trigger warning?
I mean, what's done is done. But but yeah, that sounds intense. That is, again, I'm not trying to add to the triggering nature of this, but it's weird when you cut your finger. You know, for me, again, typically if I'm like trying to make dinner or something, and there is kind of, in my experience, this nanosecond between when you realize that you're going to do it, but you can't stop it because you've already mispositioned your finger in relation to the knife or whatever. And that is just like, that's both the longest and shortest amount of time ever because you're just like, oh, this is happening. That just happened. Like you know it's about to happen, but you cannot stop it from happening. I hate that period of time.
Absolutely. And it's like, well, the same thing when you break something too, sort of, although this is obviously worse, but I told you how I was on my fourth coffee pot. I kept breaking them, and then it was like sitting at the edge of the sink, and I just moved a towel a tiny bit, and I just watched this thing flip over and land in the sink and shatter into a million different pieces, and I was like, goddamn! Like it's like I saw it all unfold. Like and you see your evening and potentially your week, or especially with a physical thing, potentially like your life changing, and you're like, oh shit, this ruins my night. Oh shit, like am I ever gonna use this finger the same way again?
It's and also Kelly sounds like kind of a kindred spirit to you, Andrew, in that she was crying at the urgent care because she felt like she was being a weenie.
Yeah.
Like not crying because she cut her thumb off, which I think would be a pretty reasonable response, but the feeling that she wasn't being a patient at the urgent care correctly was now making her feel equally sad.
Yeah. I wonder what her phlebotomist situation is too. Trade notes.
She asks for the least and most experienced phlebotomist, and then she has them arm wrestle.
she gives them each a syringe.
Yes,
ties their left wrists together, and then decides.
Exactly. And then whoever draws blood first, that's who she's going with. So
what a dark way to end the show.
Well, listen, Kelly, hope that your thumb recovers, and thank you for listening and letting us know what's going on in your life. Thank you to everyone else out there for listening in to today's TBTL. We are going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. I'll be in Chicago trying to figure out how to be funny about the news. So hopefully you can all join us for that as well. In the meantime, have a great Wednesday, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.